picture this. You wake up on a Monday morning.
Oh, the absolute worst.
Right. The alarm is still like echoing in your ears. You haven't even had a sip of coffee yet, and there's already this heavy, sinking pit in your stomach.
Yeah, that classic Monday feeling.
Exactly. You roll over, you look at your phone, and you just stare at that little red notification bubble on your work email app.
The one that somehow miraculously grew over the weekend.
Yes. And in that moment, what is the very first thing you tell yourself?
I mean, you probably think, ugh, I'm just being lazy.
Exactly. You think, I need to get it together. You treat that feeling of dread as a character flaw.
Right, like it's a personal failure that you aren't just leaping out of bed to tackle those messages.
But what if I told you that Monday morning dread isn't a character flaw at all?
Which is such a wild concept to wrap your head around.
It really is. What if we can prove to you that it is, in fact, a mathematical inevitability?
Yeah, we have a truly mind-bending source document today.
We really do. It's a transcript of a dialogue titled, Why You Hate Monday Mornings. It's Not Laziness.
And it is this fascinating, just wild intersection of game theory, evolutionary neuroscience, and, well, the deepest questions of philosophy.
Right, so our mission for this deep dive is to show you why your inbox dread is actually completely rational.
We're going to look at the game theory of your soul, basically.
Yeah, and hopefully, by the end of this, give you the psychological cheat codes to overcome it. Okay, let's unpack this. How on earth is a messy, anxiety-inducing inbox a high-level mathematical concept?
Well, it really comes down to a concept in game theory called the Nash Equilibrium.
Okay, right.
In the context of our, modern misery, it describes a state where everyone is locked into a behavioral loop.
Because changing your behavior on your own would just be a disaster.
Exactly. It would put you at a severe disadvantage. To understand the mechanism here, you have to look at the underlying incentive structure.
What game theorists call a payoff matrix.
Right. So you have two choices on a Sunday night. You check your email, or you don't.
And if you don't check it, but all your colleagues do, you get penalized.
Yeah, you miss crucial updates, you drop the ball, your boss notices you're behind. Basically, you lose.
But if you do check it, you sacrifice your entire weekend.
And your peace of mind.
Yeah.
But, hey, you survived the corporate ladder.
Right. So because everyone is terrified of being the one person left behind, everyone is just constantly checking and sending emails to stay ahead.
And the collective experience becomes a complete dumpster fire.
Even though every single person is literally just trying to protect themselves.
The source text has a brilliant phrase for this dynamic, actually.
Oh, I loved this part.
Yeah, it calls our modern inbox culture a triumph of individual rationality over collective sanity.
That is so perfectly put.
Right. It makes perfect mathematical sense for you as an individual to send that late-night email to cover your bases.
But when everyone runs that exact same calculation, the whole system just becomes toxic.
And the document uses this analogy of fishermen on a lake to really ground the idea.
Yes, imagine a lake full of a limited number of trout.
And every fisherman is terrified that the other guy's going to catch the last trout first.
So instead of agreeing to only fish what they actually need,
Which would make sense.
right, the fear of missing out just drives them to frantically overfish until the lake is completely empty.
Everyone acts rationally to protect their own catch, but collectively they destroy the very resource they need to survive.
It is so incredibly relatable. I mean, you see this exact dynamic when you get CC'd on one of those legendary 40-thread emails.
Oh gosh, yeah. About something completely trivial.
Like the office microwave being left dirty?
The 40-thread email is the absolute perfect modern equivalent of the empty lake.
Right, because everyone just keeps hitting reply all.
Just to rationally prove they weren't the one who exploded a burrito in the microwave.
Or they want to publicly signal their virtue to the boss by agreeing that cleanliness is paramount.
Exactly.
Right.
Individually rational, but collectively insane.
Which points to a glaring contradiction, really.
How so?
Well, if we are mathematically incentivized to behave in ways that destroy our shared resources and make everyone thoroughly miserable, why hasn't human society just entirely imploded by now?
Ah, right. That brings us to the evolutionary biology of human behavior.
And what game theorists call an iterated game.
Yeah. The reason the fishermen don't always destroy the lake, and the reason we haven't destroyed each other, is that life isn't just a single one-off transaction.
Right. If it were a one-off game where you'd never see the other person again, the math says, yeah, absolutely be selfish.
Take everything. But human history is not a one-off game. We are stuck with each other long-term.
We evolved in the village.
Exactly. We have to look the same people in the eye tomorrow and the next day and next year.
So our reputation actually matters for survival.
And to protect that reputation, to keep us cooperating in this iterated game, evolution gave us a biological patch.
It baked a specific mechanism right into our hardware to solve the problem of social trust over time.
Right. And the source calls it guilt.x.
I absolutely love that phrasing.
It's so good. It's like a software update for morality that downloaded into our brains a few 100,000 years ago.
Guilt is the biological friction that stops you from acting like a selfish jerk.
Because your nervous system calculates that you literally need the tribe tomorrow.
It ensures you don't steal the extra trout because social exclusion would mean death in the ancestral environment.
Literally death, yes.
But I have to point out the massive flaw in our modern environment here.
Oh, the mismatch is huge.
Right. That software was tuned for a village of maybe 100 people. People you knew deeply.
Where your reputation actually carried weight.
But today, we are dealing with a world built on anonymous, rapid-fire, one-off interactions.
We are operating in a low-iteration environment using high-iteration software.
Exactly. You interact with a customer service bot or some anonymous jerk on Twitter.
And there is zero reputational cost to being terrible to a stranger on the internet who lives 1,000 miles away.
The math of the modern internet actually says, hey, be a jerk, there are absolutely no consequences.
But our ancient biology is still desperately running that I must be liked by everyone software.
Right. The text notes that bringing our ancient need for social approval to the modern internet is like bringing a knife to a drone strike.
Which is a brilliant way to put it. It's a profound mismatch between our biological hardware and our cultural environment.
Yeah, we're applying iterated game emotions like deep shame, social anxiety, dread.
To fleeting, one-off scenarios where they serve absolutely no survival purpose.
But wait, if guilt and dread and social anxiety are just these ancient software updates running mismatched calculations, why does it actually hurt?
That is the big question.
Right. Like when you do something embarrassing in a meeting or you stare at that unread inbox, why does your face get hot?
Yeah.
Why does that pit in your stomach on Monday morning feel so physically heavy? Because it feels entirely real.
Well, you've just stumbled into what philosophers and neuroscientists call the hard problem of consciousness.
The hard problem.
Yeah. If we are essentially meat computers running evolutionary software, as the biology suggests, why aren't we just high-functioning zombies?
Right. Why does the processing of data have a subjective, qualitative experience attached to it?
Exactly. I mean, a silicone computer can process that an error occurred, but it doesn't feel embarrassed.
It definitely doesn't feel a pit in its CPU.
No, it doesn't.
And the source really pushes back against the clinical language of neuroscience here, which I so appreciate.
Oh, definitely.
You read these academic papers, and it's all, neural networks synchronizing and patterns emerging in the prefrontal cortex.
It's very dry.
Right, and the text says describing the wiring of the brain is like describing the plumbing of a house.
Tracing the pipes, measuring the water pressure.
Exactly, while completely ignoring the fact that someone is actually inside the house taking a shower.
That is the best analogy. Science can map the plumbing, the neurons, the synapses, but it really struggles to explain the person in the shower.
It struggles to explain why the light is on inside the house at all.
Right. Why is there a subjective redness to the color red?
Or why does a stressful thought have a specific heavy texture when it pops into your head instead of just being a string of binary code?
What's fascinating here is how neuroscience attempts to locate that someone in the shower.
Right, looking for the self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By using fMRI scans, researchers can map the brain's default mode network.
And that's the system that's active when we're like daydreaming or worrying about the past.
Or planning our social futures. Yeah, they can see all these different nodes lighting up and communicating.
But the mind-bending truth is they can't find a central hub.
No, there is no CEO chair in the brain where the self sits and receives all this information.
The text gets super trippy here. It says the feeling of being you is like the melody of an orchestra, not the violin.
It's wild. Consciousness appears to be an emergent property of all these different decentralized systems working together.
Wow.
The illusion of a cohesive self is generated by the brain just to keep track of its social standing in those iterated games we talked about earlier.
But the truly strange part is that the melody thinks it's the conductor.
Right. You sit there looking out of your eyes and you feel like you are the absolute center of the universe.
You feel like the CEO of your body.
But when you look inward, trying to find that solid, unchanging self, It's like trying to touch the horizon.
It constantly recedes. The self is just a narrative layer, a simulation running on top of the hardware.
And this leads to a really interesting philosophical friction in the text.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
If the self is just a narrative simulation running on biological hardware to ensure survival,
Yeah.
how do we explain experiences that seem to have absolutely no evolutionary payoff?
Right. And the text brings up the feeling of awe as a prime example.
Yeah,
This part of the dialogue actually cracked me up.
really? Why?
Because the analytical side of the text just coldly describes the feeling of awe, like staring at a majestic mountain or a gorgeous sunset, as just a biological signal.
Well, it argues that awe is just your brain's mechanism to force you to stop moving so it can download a high-res file of a novel environment.
See, I found myself practically yelling at the document here.
You didn't like that?
No, you can't just reduce everything to a high-res download. Staring at a purple sunset has no game theory payoff.
That's true, it doesn't.
You aren't winning a social survival game by looking at a purple sky and feeling that quiet ache in your chest. Like, just let it be a sunset. Don't ruin the magic with utility functions.
It perfectly illustrates the ultimate tension between the mechanical explanation of life and the lived experience of it.
Yeah, totally.
But if we follow the mechanics for a moment
Yeah.
and accept that the self is this fluid narrative layer,
The space where a story is told rather than a solid physical object.
exactly, it alters our entire perception of reality. This raises an important question, actually.
Okay.
If the self isn't a physical object sitting in a CEO chair in your brain, then where do the edges of you actually stop?
Oh, right. If my consciousness is just a melody, it doesn't necessarily have to be confined to my skull.
We are officially diving into extended mind territory here.
Which is the idea that the tools you use, the notes you write, your smartphone.
And even the person you are conversing with.
Right, that they literally become part of your cognitive process.
The boundary of the self becomes highly porous.
Yeah.
The text suggests that in a deep, highly engaged conversation, the two people are actually forming a single, distributed cognitive system.
They're co-creating a shared reality, essentially forming a temporary shared mind.
Which is such a beautiful, poetic thought, really.
I'm part of you, you're part of me. But the document introduces a striking contrast here about the specific flavor of that shared reality.
Right.
If a conversation can spark a shared mind, does that mean anything that shares and processes information is conscious?
Well, to answer that, the source draws on integrated information theory, or IIT.
IIT, okay.
Yeah. IIT attempts to explain the mechanism of consciousness mathematically.
Right.
It posits that a system becomes conscious when it reaches a critical mass of complexity and integration. So think of the difference between a simple thermostat and a human brain.
Okay, a thermostat has two states, right? On or off.
Exactly. It reacts, but it doesn't integrate information. The human brain, however, integrates millions of inputs.
Sight, sound, memory, emotion.
Right, into a single, unbreakable frame of reality. According to IIT, that massive integration is the consciousness.
Wow.
This means a highly advanced AI or a complex enough network of logic gates might eventually cross that threshold and have its own light turn on.
But the flavor of that light would be vastly different from ours, wouldn't it?
Completely different.
The source compares human consciousness, this heavy, warm pulse of carbon-based existential dread, the thumping bass drum of a beating heart against the hypothetical consciousness of an artificial system.
It describes the AI's experience as the cold, static, and high-frequency hum of logic gates.
Silicon versus carbon.
Exactly. An algorithm auto-completing our emails doesn't feel Monday morning dread because it lacks the carbon biology of guilt.exe.
Right. The medium shapes the message. Our biological imperatives give our consciousness its specific gravity, its ache, and its joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Well, playing with these massive high-concept ideas about cold, static, and narrative selves is incredibly fun for a philosophical debate.
It really is.
But let's bring this back down to earth and connect it to the listener. Because tomorrow morning, you are still going to be stuck at your desk.
Oh, absolutely.
The alarm is going to go off, the inbox is going to be full, and the Nash Equilibrium of modern misery is going to be right there waiting for you.
It's unavoidable.
So if myself is just a fluid narrative, theoretically, I could just rewrite the script when I'm stressed. Like, if I'm stuck in morning traffic, I don't have to be the rage, do I?
That is the crucial pivot right there.
Okay.
The hard problem of consciousness isn't just a puzzle for academics, you know. It is a highly practical tool.
How so?
Well, imagine someone cuts you off in morning traffic. Your heart rate jumps. Your face flushes. If you are entirely identified with the CEO of your brain, you become the rage.
You act on it.
Right. But if you understand that the self is a narrative, you could look at the physiological reaction and realize that this rage is just an ancient biological subroutine.
It's guilt.x's aggressive cousin.
Exactly. Trying to win what it falsely perceives as the life or death survival game on the highway.
But it's not life or death. It's just a guy in a Honda Civic who forgot to use his turn signal.
Right. And the moment you recognize it as a subroutine, the rage stops driving the car.
You adaptively switch your perspective.
You shift from being the character in the movie, who is caught up in the drama and the fire, to being the screen itself.
The screen holds the image of the fire, but it doesn't get burned.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for us on a practical level?
The source distills all this high-level philosophy into 3 incredibly actionable takeaways.
3 practical hacks for the soul.
Yeah, to help you become the screen, the glow check, as they call it. The first hack is to name the narrator.
This is huge. When you feel that surge of morning dread or stress, you have to realize that the loud, panicking voice in your head isn't the CEO. Right, it's just a consultant offering an outdated biological opinion.
And the best way to demote that voice is to give it a ridiculous name. Call it Corporate Carl.
Or Panic Pete. Or Judgmental Janet.
Oh.
It sounds absurd, but there's a profound neurological mechanism at work here, right?
Oh, totally. By assigning a name to the feeling, you are forcing your brain to use the prefrontal cortex, which is the area responsible for language and logic.
And engaging the prefrontal cortex physically dampens the activity in your amygdala.
Which is the fear and emotion center that's screaming at you about your inbox.
So you are creating a literal biological metagap. The second you say to yourself, oh, Corporate Carl is really freaking out about these unread emails right now, you are no longer Carl.
Right. You are the consciousness observing Carl. You've stepped out of the subroutine.
You can acknowledge the anxiety without being consumed by it. Like, thanks for the input, Corporate Carl, but I'm going to go make my coffee now.
It instantly breaks the spell.
It really does. And the second hack builds on this. Identify the game.
This brings us back to game theory. When you feel your stress levels rising at work, ask yourself, is this a one-off game or an iterated game?
Because we cause ourselves so much unnecessary suffering by treating minor social frictions as life or death.
Right, like an awkwardly worded email from a colleague or a weird look from a boss in a meeting.
We react physically as if we are about to be exiled from the ancestral village to freeze in the wilderness.
Exactly. You have to remind yourself that you are playing the long game of your own well-being.
You can lose a minor one-off hand, you know. You can miss an email, you can fumble a presentation, and still be perfectly fine in the long run.
The tribe is not going to abandon you over a typo.
No, they're not. And that leads to the third hack, which ties the whole deep dive together. Notice the stage.
This is a great strategy for managing your cognitive load. Throughout your workday, your attention is constantly hijacked by the actors on the stage.
Right. The content of your tasks, the Slack notifications popping up on your screen, the racing thoughts in your head.
You become completely consumed by the performance.
So to lower that cognitive load, the source suggests taking just 10 seconds, maybe once an hour, to deliberately shift your focus from the actors to the stage itself.
And to help visualize this, the text uses a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
It likens navigating your consciousness to holding a small bird in your hand.
To hold the bird safely, you have to find the perfect tension.
Right. If you grip the bird too tightly, meaning you completely identify with every single stressful thought, every deadline, and every unread email, you crush it.
You collapse under the weight of the stress and the ego.
But if you open your hand too widely,
if you detach completely, tell yourself, none of this matters, it's all just a simulation, I'm just a melody.
the bird flies away, you disconnect from reality, you lose your motivation, and you aren't even present in the room anymore.
The mechanics of this hack are entirely physical, too. When you feel that tight grip of anxiety, don't just stare harder at the screen.
Look at the physical space around your monitor. Notice the temperature of the air in the room.
Feel the chair underneath you. Notice the simple context of your awareness. Breathe. Loosen the grip.
The goal isn't absolute attachment to your work, nor is it absolute detachment from your life. It's about finding the right grip.
Deliberately adjusting your hold on your own narrative so you can observe the friction without being destroyed by it.
Finding the right grip.
I think that is exactly what we set out to do today. We've taken you on quite a journey, from the moment you wake up dreading the day all the way to the foundational nature of reality.
It's been wild.
But I hope you can see now that your Monday morning dread isn't laziness. It is a spectacular clash between your ancient biology, your guilt.xc, and the modern game theory of our constantly connected world.
And by understanding the math and the neuroscience behind those feelings, you gain the power to step back.
You create that meta gap. You realize you don't have to let corporate Carl run the show.
You can choose to be the screen, not just the movie.
Before we wrap up, there was one deeply provocative idea hidden near the end of the source material that I want us to leave you with.
Oh, this part was fascinating.
It's a thought that takes everything we've discussed about consciousness and pushes it just one step further into the future.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the text touched briefly on the idea that the glow of human consciousness, that heavy, warm pulse we experience,
Right.
it might actually be generated by the friction of uncertainty itself.
The ache, the dread, the joy, the guilt. It all exists because we are constantly navigating an unpredictable world, right?
Right.
Trying to figure out our place in the iterated game.
The friction is what keeps the light on.
And that raises a really chilling question. As we rely more and more on predictive algorithms, on AI assistants that perfectly map out our workdays,
Autocomplete our emails and script our social interactions to eliminate all possible friction.
what happens to us?
If we successfully build a technological world that completely eliminates the friction of uncertainty from our modern lives, do we risk accidentally turning off the very light of our own consciousness?
Wow.
If everything is perfectly predictable, does the melody stop needing to listen to itself?
If we smooth out all the rough edges of the game, do we stop being players entirely?
That is a massive thought to chew on the next time an algorithm autocompletes your email response for you.
A little bit of friction, a little bit of dread might just be the proof that you are still beautifully complexly alive. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been great.
The next time you wake up with that Monday morning pit in your stomach,
Yeah.
staring down an impossible inbox, just take a breath, name the narrator.
Remember the fisherman on the lake.
And whatever you do this week, keep your grip light on the bird.